All right, welcome back. Starting on the right night and time this week. That's nice, isn't it? Okay, we have a lot to cover tonight, so let's not waste any time. If you're joining us for the first time, this is the show where, the stream rather, where I talk about all the weekly comic shows, or at least the ones I watch. Sorry, Gotham, I'm not going there again. I give my thoughts on the episode of the week, and then I go to the chat room, and I'll let you guys chime in on it. And just to stress this once again, the way I like to do this is I like to go show by show, and I really want us to stay on topic from now on. So when we're talking about one show, that's what we talk about in the comments section. So if I'm talking about Arrow, don't ask me about Flash, right? We'll get to Flash when we get to it. And that goes for any other show. And it doesn't count if you just say, I'm sorry, but, and then ask me about some random thing that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, all right? I put up with that for a long time. I keep telling you guys that we can't keep doing that because I need to stay on topic because I'm a little ADD and that just helps me stay focused. So let's please try to stay on topic from now on. If you ask me an off-topic question, I'm just going to skip over it. We can do off-topic stuff at the end of the video. All right, that's when you can ask me about whatever you want. But let's get going. Starting with Luke Cage. I guess I had to cover this one. I have seen the whole show now, and I'm about to spoil the hell out of Luke Cage. Okay, so if you haven't finished the show yet, hit that mute button right now, okay? Because there will be spoilers. Alrighty, let's go for it. So I finished Luke Cage now. Watched the whole series. Overall, I'd say it was good. Wouldn't say it was great. It was good. It's serviceable. It's not a bad show. Yeah, there are some really strong moments in there, but I didn't find it to be as gripping as Daredevil or Jessica Jones. Not nearly as much. Just like I was worried about, it's really hard to create stakes and suspense and drama when your hero is indestructible. Also, Cottonmouth was a weak villain, just like I was afraid he would be. This guy is a Kingpin wannabe. Decent enough character. It was nicely fleshed out by the end there, but Kingpin wannabe. Once you've gone Kingpin, any other mobster/criminal type is just going to be a step down. That's what this guy was. Now, they did address some of these things, all right? Cottonmouth is kind of a red herring, actually. They get rid of him halfway through and introduce Diamondback, who's much more threatening, at least until he puts on the Power Ranger cosplay suit at the end. Wow, don't get me started on that thing. Plus, they come up with a way for the bad guys to actually hurt and even kill Luke by using these bullets made from the Chitauri tech. Good. Okay. Even when Luke gets shot by this thing, unfortunately, even when he gets hit by it and it punctures his skin, so he's actually injured, he doesn't really seem that badly hurt. He's able to walk, he's still able to walk around, he's still able to fight a little bit. He even says, I'm okay. Yeah. I mean, he's in pain, but he's okay. It's not that bad. Oh, okay. So I guess we don't need stakes and drama then, because if we actually feared for Luke's life, then the show would have real stakes and real tension, and I guess we can't have any of those things. And this subplot of Luke being injured goes on for a couple of episodes, and it just didn't get over the seriousness of this. They have time for Claire to check him out. to consider their options, to drive all the way to friggin' Georgia to find this doctor guy, to have a conversation with the doctor before they actually try to help Luke. Yeah, Luke is slowly getting worse during this time, but you never really feel like there's a race against time here. And then after he's healed, it's right back to him being a walking tank that no bad guy can hurt unless they shoot him with those Chitauri bullets, which he never gets hit with again. It just seems like there were some good opportunities uh, for drama and to heighten the tension in this situation that the writers just kind of passed on, and I'm not sure why. And then there's the finale. The finale I thought was pretty weak, actually. It made a really big mistake early on by finishing the huge Luke Diamondback throwdown that they'd been building up to in like the first 15 minutes of the episode. And then the rest of the episode is all wrap-up stuff. Now, I've seen other shows do this. The Penny Dreadful Season 2 finale did it, and I'll never understand why. The three-act structure exists for a reason. When they did this, they let all the air out of the balloon about half an hour early, making the big climax feel like a big anti-climax. Also, that big fight, and most of the fights on the show, actually, are really not that impressive. They're not filmed in a terribly exciting or interesting way. Most of them have very little excitement because you know going in that Luke is in no real danger, and he's just going to obliterate everybody, so all the tension evaporates before it can even form. I mean, it's cool to watch bullets bouncing off him, but the novelty of that wears off quick, and then you're left with the problem of how to make these fight scenes compelling and engaging when most of the time the bad guys would have better luck shooting spitballs at a tank. Daredevil took action to a whole new level, and it really knew how to ratchet up the tension and hold on to it. So when Daredevil finally took on Kingpin in the season finale of season 1, I was on the edge of my seat like, oh, get him! Because there was a real struggle there. Because Kingpin's this like giant mountain of a man, and Daredevil's just a dude with the super senses. So it was like a David and Goliath thing. It was a real struggle. But here, I was just kind of shrugged, like, Luke's going to win. He's obviously going to win. Even now, he's still clearly more powerful. And look at Diamondback. He looks like a fucking goof in that suit. I mean, during the fight, they even do this moment where Diamondback tells Luke that their dad was going to leave Luke's mom for his mom, and they cut to some guys watching the fight from like 5 feet away, and they're like, "Whoa, Luke, what you doing letting him talk about your mama like that?" And what was he? Really? Was this really the time to do a Yo Mama-esque gag played for laughs in a fight that's supposed to be really serious? Was this weird tonal inconsistency there? It was just a really bizarre time to go to that place. But I don't want to seem too critical here. Yeah, the show has some problems, yes, but it has good points too. I really like Luke as a character. He seems like a really genuine and admirable guy, which is a nice change of pace from Jessica Jones and Matt Murdock, who both have a lot of self-destructive tendencies. Luke's a little bit less complicated, which I think the Netflix shows were probably due for, so it was a good time to do a character like that. There's some... the cast is... excuse me. The cast is really good. I loved Misty Knight. Yeah, she might be one of my favorite characters in the Marvel Netflix universe. Total badass, also really smart, but not in a Mary Sue way where it doesn't feel like realistic. Now, she's also got real flaws and stuff, and she screws up sometimes, and I just thought she was an awesome character. If they wanted to do a Misty Knight spin-off show, I'd be totally down for it. I'd watch that. I also really like Pop, and then they did what they did, and it really bummed me out, and Claire, she's back. She's great as always. Also, there was some interesting social commentary there that was not lost on me. I love the scene in during like the radio show where the guy that Luke saved in the Quickie Mart goes on the radio and he's talking about it. and he says, there's something really powerful about a black man who's bulletproof and unafraid. And I was like, yeah, that's very timely. I see what they were going for there. Yeah, that works. I got it, because it's a very topical thing now. So I understand what they were trying to do there. Plus the guy freestyling that rap about Luke Cage, that was awesome too. So yeah, it's a really nice cast, and like I said, there are moments in this show that work very well. There are great moments sprinkled in throughout this first season, but looking at the season in the big picture, it feels a little pedestrian. Yeah, I didn't get the impression that they were really trying to push the envelope. More like instead of trying to swing for the fences, the show just settled into a comfortable space and it stayed there. There's potential, but it's not, at the moment, it's not realized as much as I would like. So, Luke Cage, let's get through this quick because we got a lot of shows to cover. You really... Is Luke Cage as boring as Daredevil was? Dude, I hope that was sarcasm, because Daredevil is fucking awesome. I would rank the Netflix Marvel shows as Daredevil at 1 with a 9 score, Jessica Jones second with an 8.9, and Luke Cage third with an 8. I don't think I would give Jessica Jones that high a score, actually. I'm probably in the minority on that one, but I thought Jessica Jones was a little bit problematic, due mainly to pacing issues and inconsistency with the powers and stuff like that, but yeah, now's not the time to get into that. With the last episode, we can see Luke Cage, we can see how they are setting up defenders. Claire is going to call Matt, he will get the file they found, represent Luke and Clara's name. Yeah, it's really not much of a cliffhanger there, because they set up how Luke is going to be exonerated at the end. So he'll get locked up for a day or two, and then they'll get the file, and that'll clear his name, and then he'll be out. So I hope it's more complicated than that, because that's not really much of a cliffhanger. Luke Cage isn't as indestructible as some heroes like Superman, who's just outright omnipotent. Cage is at least limited in what his powers can do. That's true. But he's still much, much more powerful than any of the bad guys he comes across in this show. So he might as well be Superman, because none of his opponents have powers. He's fighting these gangsters who do nothing but shoot guns at him, and the bullets just keep on bouncing off him. And unfortunately, they don't ever come up with another plan, like trying to poison him or asphyxiate him or doing something like that. Something that might actually hurt him. I mean, they get those alien bullets, and that works that first time they shoot him, but then he gets better and he doesn't get shot with them again. You see where the problem is? Let's see. Okay. Luke Cage is limited to super strength and durability, so an enemy who can avoid this, a speedster, teleporter, invisible man he can't hit, can overpower and possibly kill him. Yeah, talk to me when any of those characters actually show up in Luke Cage. Because right now, he's just fighting normal dudes, which he can just walk all over. Now, if they could find some of these people that you're talking about and put them in the show to fight Luke, that would be an improvement. Because those are people that he would have problems with. Just normal dudes, not so much. Luke Cage is okay. Daredevil is much better. Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I still think Daredevil is the standard bearer for the Netflix shows. Just my opinion. Okay, and that is Luke Cage. And moving on. Alright, hold on. Cottonmouth had super strength in the comics. Like you said, the show would have been better if the villains had superpowers. Yeah. So I did appreciate the cliffhanger where the doctor who gave Lucas powers in the finale takes an interest in Diamondback. So maybe if Diamondback is going to have powers as well in season 2, that would help. That would be that would solve a big problem. So that's good. But yeah, let's move on to, oh God help me, The Flash. Really wish I could Irish this up. If I'm going to be talking about The Flash. Oh boy. You can probably tell where I'm going with this. Alright, first, I'll give you guys my thoughts on the season premiere, which I couldn't talk about last week due to personal reasons. So I sit down to watch this season premiere, thinking, let's see how far into the episode we get before Barry does something so stupid that it makes me want to punch him in the face. A minute and 20 seconds later, Barry activates his powers in the coffee shop without his costume, in the middle of the coffee shop, the cafe, where dozens of people are sitting and could have seen him. Okay, yeah, they're looking at the TV, but he doesn't even... I don't think he even looks around to make sure everyone's attention is elsewhere. He just speeds away. Anybody could have seen him. He doesn't even go outside and duck into an alley first or anything. Secret identity, what's that? So right then and there, I just knew. I knew these writers hadn't learned a goddamn thing from the last 2 seasons, and I knew this was gonna suck. And it did. Let's back up for a minute and talk about this story, okay? So they're doing Flashpoint. Big story from the comics. Well, guess what? I don't give a shit. Just because it's from the comics doesn't mean it's going to translate well. Here's the problem. The main problem with this whole thing. They waited too long to do it. If they were going to do Flashpoint, it should have been in Season 2. If they'd done it in Season 2, it would have been fine. Well, it wouldn't have been fine, but it would have been much less of a problem than it was here. Barry goes back in time to save his mom in the Season 1 finale. He saves her. And it creates this new timeline, and then you do Flashpoint in the Season 2 premiere. Okay? Because the whole reason to do that in the first place is to teach Barry that he can't change the past because the past is what made him who he is. And also because of a whole bunch of other reasons. Then on top of that, you can also teach him about screwing with the timeline for his own personal benefit, because there are huge consequences to that too. So you can kind of combine those things, and it would make sense to do it in the Season 2 premiere. But now, Barry's already learned that lesson, that he can't change the past. He already learned that. So the only way they can do Flashpoint now is by regressing Barry as a character, just so he can learn the same fucking lesson twice. So I went into this episode with zero fucking patience. And immediately, all I see in every fucking scene is wasted potential. Barry has changed time for the better, basically. His parents are alive. Iris is annoyingly perfect, still. Caitlin is a carefree doctor. Cisco is richer than Bill Gates. There's even a new Flash now. So Barry is freed from that responsibility too. Oh, and for some reason he can't tell that it's Wally. Even though Wally's face didn't even really change that much when he had it blurred. Barry couldn't tell it was him somehow. Don't ask me why. Because then I go off on a huge rant about how Barry's a fucking idiot, and I've already got too much else to talk about here. So really, the only difference that's bad in this timeline is that Joe is kind of a flake at work. He might have a bit of a drinking problem or something, but so fucking what? Is that such a big deal compared to everything else? Barry created the perfect life for himself, and then he starts to lose, and then, this is so strange, he starts to lose his memories of the original timeline. And they're playing it like this is something horrible. Why? Why is it a bad thing that Barry forgets the old timeline? He changed the old timeline because he didn't like it in the first place. But now him forgetting it would be a terrible thing? Why does he even care if he forgets? This makes no fucking sense at all. So fast forward a little bit. Wally gets injured. That's it. He gets injured fighting that other speedster guy, the rival. And just Wally getting injured is enough to make Barry think that creating this timeline was a huge mistake. Okay, there's another wasted opportunity right there. You could have done something really big to convince Barry that he fucked up, but instead, Wally just got hurt. They don't even know if he'll die or recover or what. I would hazard a guess that he would recover, because he heals fast. He has flash powers. That means he can heal at an accelerated rate just like Barry can. So I think odds are pretty good that he would actually pull through. But, and that's so lame. You really want to you really want to put the fear of God in Barry to convince him that he fucked up? Have Wally die. Have all his friends die. Hell, have a lot of people die. Set off a nuke in the fucking city or something. You're going to erase this reality anyway, so go nuts with it. Push the envelope. Do something big with it. Yeah, I think in the Flashpoint DC Animated Universe movie, I think Flash going back in time created a world, turned the world into a post-apocalyptic war zone or something. Why couldn't they do that? That's interesting. This is just stupid. So Barry releases the Reverse Flash to fix the timeline, and again the writers fuck it up. Reverse Flash goes back in time to kill Barry's mom. But the Barry from the season 1 finale should have been there, ready and waiting to stop him from doing so. Okay, he only didn't stop the Reverse Flash in the season 1 finale because that other Barry from the future stopped him. Remember? Remember when he did this? Stopped Barry from saving his mom. But for some reason, that Barry isn't there this time. So there's nothing stopping him anymore. And yet, the season 1 finale, Barry doesn't show up. And don't try to tell me that he isn't there because that timeline never existed now. That's bullshit and you know it. Because if that was true, then Barry wouldn't have his powers anymore. But he does. So explain to me how this all works. This is one of the things that pisses me off so fucking much about this stupid show. The rules of time travel are so completely arbitrary that they might as well not even exist. There are no set rules or set logic to time travel. It works however the writers want it to work in order to tell the story that they want to tell, whether it makes any sense or not. More often than not, it doesn't. And guess what? This is sloppy, lazy writing, and I am so sick and tired of critics and fans not calling them out on this shit. So they fix time and Barry goes back to his own timeline, but the big cliffhanger is that things are almost back to normal, but now Joe and Iris don't talk. That's it. Joe and Iris are having a fight and they're not talking. Oh, God, how awful. Joe and Iris don't talk. What a nail-biting cliffhanger. Oh, wait, no. Actually, it's really stupid and boring. Because it's contingent on us loving Iris so much that the very idea of her being changed in any way, shape, or form is the stuff of nightmares. The thing is, I don't love Iris that much. Iris is a flat, boring character. She pretty much always has been. So if the Iris of this timeline is slightly less than perfect, that's... I don't really care. They could have done so much more with this idea, but all I see is wasted potential everywhere I look. If you really wanted to up the stakes, if you really wanted to create some drama, if you really wanted to teach Barry a hard lesson about screwing with time travel for his own personal gain, have Iris be dead in this reality. Do the Flashpoint thing. Well, first of all, do it in season 2, not 3, and have Iris be dead. Have the whole world be completely fucked up. But the biggest punch in the gut is that Barry going back in time to save his mom somehow turned Iris's life into absolute shit, and now she's dead. So Barry has to make a choice. He can save his parents or he can save Iris, but he can't save all of them. One way or another, he has to choose between them, between like the 3 people that he supposedly loves more than anything. And either way, it's going to hurt like hell. And either way, he's going to have to live with the consequences of what he did for once. No letting him off the hook this time. It would be a much more powerful and interesting dilemma. It would actually make sense, which this really didn't, because he didn't know that Wally was going to die. And it would be great character development for Barry. And you know what? That's probably why they didn't do it. And I wouldn't expect them to, because the piss-poor character that is Barry Allen is at the root of nearly all the problems with this show. You know, they could have done so much more with this idea, but the episode was ill-conceived from the get-go. Balls dropped at every turn. What? It's supposed to pull on my heartstrings that Barry got to spend a few months with his parents? Fuck you. Barry nearly doomed the entire human race, due entirely to his own immaturity and his inability to be the hero that he should be last season. I no longer give a shit about his happiness. Take that away, and what does this episode really have? Oh, it's heartbreaking because Barry finally has Iris and he has to let her go again. Yeah, I don't care about that either. I don't. I never cared about Barry and Iris getting together, and I still don't. They're boring. The idea of them being together is boring. Iris is boring. And quite frankly, this episode was pretty fucking boring. And pretty irritating at times, too. You gotta love how Barry actually has the balls to lecture Wally about keeping his base of operations more secure, as if Barry has a leg to stand on when bad guys have been walking into Star Labs undetected, as if there aren't even locks on the fucking doors for the last 2 seasons. Fuck you, Barry. So, yeah. Not a very good season premiere. So that brings us to The Flash, Season 4, Episode 2, Paradox. Barry is trying to figure out what's going on in this new timeline that he created in the previous episode. Joe and Iris don't talk. Cisco's brother is dead. Dig had a son instead of a daughter. Not sure how the hell that worked. Caitlin has the Killer Frost powers now, and Barry's new lab partner is Draco Malfoy. Also, that rival guy from last week gets speed powers again from some dude in a mask named Alchemy, so another villain with speed powers. Way to step out of your comfort zone, Flash Riders. First of all, I find this whole setup very confusing. The Legends of Tomorrow team traveled back into the past and killed multiple people, crippled the Pentagon, and set off not 1 but 2 nukes. And they didn't seem to change the timeline at all. But Barry changes one thing, then stops that change from even happening in the first place, and somehow this causes all these things to be different? How does that work? Why does Jay Garrick's broken teacup logic apply here, but not on Legends of Tomorrow, where they're making drastic changes to the timeline literally every week? If the writers weren't going to coordinate about details like this, then they shouldn't be doing time travel stories in the first fucking place. Because they've clearly shown that they have no clue how to do them right. Something else that's confusing. Why was Barry losing his memories of the original timeline in the Flashpoint universe, but he's not losing his memories of it in this universe? Never explained. Never even addressed. So I guess we're just throwing that on the pile with all the other inconsistencies this show glosses over on a weekly basis. Fuck's sake. So anyway, most of this episode is Barry trying to figure out how this new timeline is different from the original one, with a lot of it being played comedically. And right there, they've already lost me. Barry did something horrifically reckless and irresponsible that could have had catastrophic repercussions for the entire world, basically. And instead of treating that seriously, the writers are like, let's milk this for some cheap laughs. Oh, wow, it's so funny how Barry is really awkward. He doesn't know who his lab partner is. Ha ha ha. Oh, God. So that's how we get Barry jumping through all these hoops, trying to trick Joe and Iris into having dinner together, trying to get Caitlin to convince Cisco to come over just so he can get all his friends back together instead of devoting his energy to figuring out what the fuck happened to break the timeline and how to fix it. Now, this is before Jay Garrick talked some sense into him, so he wouldn't know that he can't necessarily just put things back the way they were, but Barry didn't know that at the time. And why was it such a horrible thing when he started to lose his memories before, but he's suddenly not worried about that happening again? I mean, shouldn't there be a sense of urgency to fix whatever he broke before he starts to lose his memories again? There isn't. Because Barry isn't losing his memories this time. Why not? I don't know. The show never tells us. It's like that whole subplot just vanished with no explanation. And then there's the scene where Barry finally comes clean with everyone. Now, at the very least, he did own up to the mistake he made. But why did he... My question is, why did he wait an entire episode to do it? Okay, why didn't he tell them what happened the minute he found out something wasn't right? The season premiere episode ends with him being really scared. Like, oh my god, what did I do? And then this one starts with him just going about his day as usual, stopping an armed robber, and then strolling into Star Labs looking all carefree and lighthearted and shit. What happened there? Wasn't he supposed to be, I don't know, concerned about how he may have changed time unintentionally now? Why didn't it start with him rounding everyone together and telling them, guys, listen, I fucked up. I may have seriously altered history. Great Scott! This is heavy, you know? Why did we have to sit through half an episode of Barry getting weirded out about how this new timeline is different before he actually comes clean about what he did to change it? Now, they get to it eventually, but to the shock of no one, the writers even managed to drop the ball here, too. Barry admits that him being a bull in the china shop of time turned out to have bad consequences, and now their whole universe may be changed forever, and not only does Barry pay literally 0 consequences for this, but he still gets what he wants. Him and Iris still get together. Everyone forgives him by the end of the episode, and the team dynamics are basically right back to normal by then. So, I guess we didn't need to take that any further. Because who needs drama and character tension, right? Fuck that noise. We're too busy setting up another speedster villain, because we've never seen one of those on this show before. And just like in the premiere, it's like they had all these opportunities dropped in their lap to create some really interesting situations and drama, and every single time they chose the most boring way possible to deal with them. When you think about what could have been done with this scenario, you really have to wonder how they could fuck it up that badly. By the way, I will be fucking livid if Barry does not at some point come clean to Cisco and admit that it's his fault that Cisco's brother is dead. That he was alive until Barry started screwing around with time travel. I cannot believe they let him off the hook for that one. It's like, no, we don't want to know what happened in the other timeline, Barry. What's the point? It's like, oh, great, Barry's off the hook. He doesn't have to tell Cisco about what he did. Even though any decent human being would do that. You know, it's Barry's fault. He did an incredibly stupid thing. Started screwing around with time travel, and now Cisco's brother is dead because of it. That's Barry's fault. We damn well better see Barry racked with guilt over that. I don't know about you guys, but if I was responsible for one of my closest friends' brother dying, that's the kind of thing that would haunt me. Probably forever. I'm really bothered by the fact that Barry seems so casual about this. I mean, he looked a little mopey about it in a few scenes, but otherwise it doesn't seem to be much of a concern for him. And I'm supposed to be happy about him getting together with Iris after that? Fuck you. Why the hell should Barry get what he wants after what he did? He shouldn't. It's bullshit writing that things work out for him after he fucked up so bad, and on top of that, Barry and Iris getting together is fucking boring. I never wanted to see this relationship in the first place. They have no romantic chemistry together. They have brother-sister chemistry. Them getting together is frankly, it's kind of creepy. So excuse me if I'm not jumping for joy over this development. Cisco taking out that Claris guy with his powers and the promise of him getting in on the superhero action in the near future, that was kind of cool. I like that. And Caitlin getting her Killer Frost powers. There you go. That's nice. So finally, Caitlin will have a storyline that doesn't involve her love interest either dying or being evil. Great. Awesome. That's good. Although why she's apparently keeping them a secret, I couldn't tell you. Cisco kept his powers a secret from everyone for a while last season, and it ended up being completely fucking pointless. So let's not make that mistake twice, shall we? Let's have Caitlin just admit she has powers and let's move forward. Because there's really no reason in the world why she wouldn't just tell them. Season 3 of The Flash is off to a bad start. I was thoroughly unimpressed by these 2 episodes. I thought they were poorly written, poorly constructed. They did nothing to make me hate Barry any less, and they did such a piss-poor job of adapting a huge story from the comics that I'm not sure how or even if they can recover. I really don't like this show, you guys. I really don't. So, hang on. I'm doing something here. What's up?
Nothing.
Okay. All right. Apparently it was nothing. Okay. We got Tobin Bell's voice for Dr. Alchemy. You a fan of the Saw movies for that reference? I know of Tobin Bell. I am not a fan of the Saw movies. I saw the second one, and I hated it. And I have no desire to see any of the others. I like The Flash, but it's a frustrating show. At the end of last season, Barry could have had Iris, but messed it up with time travel. Yeah, because he wanted his mommy. And then he fucked up the timeline. And got people killed. He really needs to get over that. Not to mention, they destroyed that emotional Season 1 finale with his mom. Yeah, they didn't have to do anything to destroy that moment. That moment was already destroyed in that Season 1 finale episode. Because he was having that emotional moment with his mom while exceeding the amount of time he had before he had to get back, and thus caused a black hole that would have swallowed the entire planet had Ronnie Raymond not sacrificed himself to close it. So, I'm so fuck that moment with his mom. That was bullshit. It's not going to pull on my heartstrings because Barry was causing an apocalypse to have it. Fuck Barry. To be fair, at the speed he was going, the human eye can't possibly follow. Someone who didn't see him start running probably wouldn't notice what the flash of light was running past him. Okay, I don't buy that. Because when he speeds away, he leaves like the trail of red light and yellow lightning and stuff. You telling me nobody noticed that? I think you would notice that. Oh boy. I have no idea what this you can't alter time shit is when LOT established that there are time mercenaries and pirates and such, so altering time is common apparently. Like, I understand time travel is difficult, but we've established time travel is commonplace, so how difficult is it? How difficult it is irrelevant now. Yeah, exactly. There's no consistency. It works however the writers want it to work at any given time, and they constantly want it to work differently to suit the needs of whatever story they're telling. And now it works differently across different shows. So the whole thing is fucked up. It's 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 kind of maddening if you think about it too much. It's, 3 seasons in, and they just keep doing the same season over and over. Speedster is the main villain, so gotta go faster, and a bunch of other teasers that Barry and Iris will get together just for it not to happen. Barry is a dummy. That is the understatement of the year. The lose memories thing is preposterous. Again, time travel is common, yet none experience this. By that logic, Sarah shouldn't remember anything by now. Yes. Yes. You see the problem I'm having with this. So, we didn't see the Legends of Tomorrow team lose any of their memories. Why does it apply to Barry and not to them? These writers don't even talk to each other. It's so fucking sloppy. It's like one conversation between these writing teams could have ironed out all of this. Yeah, they could have decided on a set way that time travel works and just fucking stick with it, but they just change it all the time. It's so frustrating. Ah. All I got from this episode is like a rehash of the Batman animated series episode Perchance to Dream. Nowhere near as good. Perchance to Dream. Which one is that? I know they did like a time travel episode. I think it was like Temple Fugit was the villain. Is that the one you're talking about? I've got the whole Batman the Animated Series back there on DVD. Not sure which one you're referring to. Hell, the Time Lords should have forgotten where they come from by now, and that's in canon. So what, Flash? Yeah. Well, another change to this new timeline is baby Sarah was aborted and another kid born in her place several years earlier. Yeah. So Barry killed a baby. Yep. So he probably owes Dig and Lila an apology. How much you want to bet we'll never see that? Did you catch the honest trailers of The Flash? Yeah, I saw it. Didn't agree with a lot of it. They made some good points, but they said, "Oh, it's a really silly show, and there's a couple things that don't make sense, but we really like it anyway." No, they were way too fucking nice. The way they portray time travel in The Flash is wildly inconsistent with both LOT and internally. It appears they use the multiverse theory, each timeline distinct, yet it functions under timeline theory, a singular timeline and no others. LOT implies the latter, previous seasons imply the former. I don't know. Any chance Malfoy is Dr. Alchemy? That was my first guess. I'm thinking, would they make it that obvious? Maybe. Virtually impossible to blatantly telegraphed. If not, it would be a huge twist like Usual Suspects huge. Maybe. If you think about it, if you look back at season 2 in retrospect, Jay Garrick turning out to be Hunter Zolomon was actually pretty obvious. So they kind of telegraphed that. They tried to to cheat it with like the time remnant bullshit. But if you think about it, it was actually pretty obvious. But they still did that, so who knows? Season 3 would have gotten off to a good start if Flashpoint was longer and well written. Well, it would have gotten off to a better start. I don't know if it would have gotten off to a good start. Yeah, I was so much happier when Barry and Iris were brother and sister, and they brought in Hot Pursuit to be his girlfriend. It worked perfectly. Yeah, bring her back, goddammit. She was cool. Professor, yeah, Flashpoint should have lasted 5 or 6 episodes at least. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's tons of wasted potential. They finish it in 1 episode, and they don't even really go for it. Just all the choices they made were so boring. God. Yeah, watch the DC Animated Universe Flashpoint movie. I haven't even seen the whole thing. I've seen pieces of it, but even the parts I saw were more interesting than this. I mean, my God, when you think about what they could have done with that story, and it just blows my mind. All the balls they dropped on that. What a fucking waste. Okay, moving on to that, to something else. Christ. To Arrow. Let's try to get through this one a little bit faster, okay? All right, so Arrow Season 5 premiere. Legacy. Oliver's trying to balance being the mayor with being Green Arrow. He's in denial about the team not coming back together. Some new thug moves into the city, and now there's a Dark Archer. There's another Dark Archer or something. So another Archer villain. Okay. Good action. There's some really impressive stunt work here, especially in the climax. With them jumping out the building and shooting the arrow into the helicopter and then flying away and stuff. Excuse me. That's really cool stuff. Very impressive work there, but that goes without saying for a show like this by now. The problem is, since Daredevil took that bar and raised it, these things don't really wow me like they used to anymore. I still recognize it for really good stunt work, but they don't make my jaw drop because I've already seen Daredevil do this kind of stuff better, and then raise the bar that it's set for itself. And season 1 was heck here, and then in season 2 they do that stairwell fight. I'm like, holy shit! It's like, yeah, Arrow. I don't know. They're trying, but I don't feel like they're. I feel like Daredevil has well and truly surpassed them. Better is the drama going on with the characters, specifically Quentin and Thea. There are some really good scenes with them, just talking about where they're at and what they're going through. It did kind of bug me that Quentin and Felicity's mom broke up off screen, and the reason for it is just kind of glossed over. Opposites attract, but not that much. Really? Because it seemed like you two were really hitting it off, Quentin. I didn't see any problems with the relationship last season. I mean, I wasn't overly attached to the relationship or anything, but they were cute together. I mean, they could have done stuff with that still. And then they just break up in between seasons? It felt, I don't know, it just felt like they were just clearing the board of that, and they just wanted it off the table, and they didn't want to have to actually deal with it, But still, and Quentin's emotional state felt real enough, and Thea's did too. I prefer that Thea stay on the team, but you understand why she wants to get out at least. The problem I had was with Oliver. Apparently we're right back to the issue of killing for the greater good versus taking the high road. Again. And maybe these are questions that Oliver would be asking himself after Laurel got killed, but didn't the show already cover this ad nauseum? Especially last season. It just kind of feels like we're backtracking on this. And speaking of backtracking, there's another evil Archer. So we're doing this again. How many of these fuckers are there? Oh, man. Also, there's this dilemma with him having to flake out on mayor stuff because of his night job. I mean, yeah, that's going to happen, but is it really that different from when he was having to flake out on his CEO job? Flake out on CEO stuff when he was running his family's company because of his night job? When he was running Queen Consolidated? I think in season 2? It's not handled poorly or anything, but it just seems like we're repeating a lot of the same themes here. Now I do like the idea of Oliver putting together a new team, and if Curtis is going to be on that team, great. I like Curtis a lot. Let's go more in this direction. This could be interesting. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm hoping they'll start to push the show into some new territory with this new team instead of just rehashing stuff we've done already. I'd say this was a serviceable premiere. The character stuff with Quentin and Thea was very well handled, and I like some of the ideas that they put forward here with a potential new team and stuff, but it didn't feel like they were trying to blast out of the gate. For every premiere, there's always some big thing that happens, like Oliver and Felicity getting shot at with a rocket launcher on their first date, or the flash forward where someone's dead. This premiere didn't have anything like that. And I wonder if we're now seeing the result of the writers trying to outdo themselves one time too many, and now it's like, well, what the hell else can we do? We kind of already jumped the shark when we killed Laurel, so now what? So that was definitely the impression I got watching this. So not a bad premiere, certainly better than the Flash's premiere was. It just kind of felt like a slow start, and maybe the creative juices weren't really flowing just yet. So moving on to Arrow Season 5, Episode 2, The Recruits. Oliver tries recruiting and training a new team, but it turns out Oliver kind of sucks at training people. Some businesswoman that the city is working with turns out to be selling weapons to Church. He's that new thug from last time. And is also a target of some new metahuman named Ragman. And Dig is on a mission for the military to recover some stolen nuclear device that's in the wind until his own people turn on him, capture the device for themselves, and frame him for murder. Also, the new evil archer is Prometheus, who looks nothing like his comics counterpart at all. BT dubs, I missed the first couple of minutes of this episode because I was out and I got home a little bit late, so I may have missed a few details here, but nevertheless, nothing really stood out action-wise this week. This one was more about some character stuff, and that part wasn't bad. Though it did feel like we were treading on familiar ground here. Oliver has trouble with the new recruits, and he's not training them right, which makes me wonder where all these issues were when he was training Roy. But he realizes this. He realizes that this is because he has trust issues, which, again, where were those trust issues when he was training Roy? I don't know. But Curtis and Felicity give him a reality check, and he lightens up a little bit. Because unlike Barry Allen, Oliver is capable of actual character growth, even if he backtracks occasionally. This was all right. It made sense that Oliver would have some trouble with this new team, but I'm not sure where all these issues came from since they didn't seem to be issues until now. But at least we see Oliver recognize his mistake and get over himself. Church doesn't strike me as a terribly impressive villain so far, so I'm expecting Prometheus to take over pretty soon, and I look forward to that. But couldn't they do something different with this guy? Did they have to make him another Archer of all things? I'm not a DC guy. I don't read the comics. All I know about Prometheus is what I've seen from him in Linkara's videos, but from what I know about him, he could be a really dangerous guy. He's got like tech that allows him to copy the skills of anyone he meets or something like that. That's really, that could be a big problem for Oliver to deal with. and instead he's just another Dark Archer. It's just more of the same stuff. And Flash, we've got another speedster villain, and now Arrow's got another Archer villain. Can we mix things up a little bit? I do kind of like the Ragman. He's interesting, and that was a nice twist that he could turn out to be an ally. And he should also be useful as a reminder for Felicity of all the people who got killed by the nuke she diverted into a suburban town at the end of last season. Because so far, she has not seemed bothered by that in any way, which I don't really buy. So Ragman's cool, but these bad guys are not knocking my socks off just yet. The Dig subplot is fine. We're just getting into it, so there's not much to see just yet. But I like Dig getting a storyline that's independent of what Oliver's doing. That's nice, although it's not clear to me how it connects to the main plot just yet. The only things I kind of had to tilt my head at were Felicity not being able to analyze evidence all of a sudden. Really? Felicity, who can use a computer like a magic wand to do anything under the sun you could possibly imagine, can't analyze evidence? And haven't we seen her doing that before? I can't remember exactly when, but we probably have. So that didn't make any sense. And then there's the Quentin thing. He fell off the wagon. He let a security breach happen under his watch. He's obviously not in a good emotional place right now, so Thea figures, let's make him deputy mayor. That'll solve everything. I see what they're going for. Like, he needs a reason to stay sober. Okay. But giving him more responsibility when he just screwed up with a lesser amount of responsibility doesn't seem like the wisest decision right now. Paul Blackthorne does sell it pretty well, though. And overall, I think the episode was okay. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. It was standard, but it did what it needed to do well enough. Arrow's not really pushing the envelope right now, but it's not doing anything really bad either. It's taking its time to set things up at a slow pace, and maybe that's a good approach to take rather than trying too hard to outdo themselves, which I think was the trap they fell into last season. Now, it's still going to cause some problems because people are going to expect them to keep trying to outdo themselves, but that's the grave they dug for themselves, and now they got to lie in it. Okay. It was kind of hypocritical for Oliver to say that Curtis is useless unless he's behind a computer, when that kind of sums up Felicity pretty well. Yeah, well, Felicity is not trying to be a field operative. She stays behind a computer, for the most part. Whereas Curtis is trying to be a fighter, which you think he'd be better at. I mean, wasn't he supposed to be an Olympic triathlete? I have no idea who this new black guy is. I think he's supposed to be a comic villain, one of Arrow's rogues, but with no costume, so I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know either. Like, I didn't realize Solomon Grundy was on the show at first because he didn't have the costume. Solomon Grundy? What? Did I miss something? Was that in the first couple of minutes? Did I miss that? I don't understand why instead of bringing in noobs, why they didn't just bring in Wildcat, Huntress, Kendra, and Carter back for the new Team Arrow. Yeah. Well, simple explanation is they couldn't get the actors back. Of course, an explanation for that would have been nice. Instead of just ignoring it. Seems pretty clear now that Thea will become the new Black Canary at some point this season. I'd be okay with that. Any thoughts on Prometheus's identity? I'm throwing out an unlikely choice. Tommy? Really? That would be an unlikely choice. But, I don't think... I would hope that's not the case. Because... Arrow started out as a show that was not afraid to kill characters off and have them stay dead. And then somewhere along the way, it became the show that kept bringing dead characters back to life. Which kind of makes everything feel somewhat less credible. And I think some of these characters have got to stay dead if the show is going to maintain a. If the show is gonna keep you fearing the Reaper, you know what I mean? Yeah, I think some of these characters have got to stay dead. Wait, that Archer is supposed to be Prometheus, not like a follower of Prometheus, or am I misunderstanding? It was my understanding that the Archer was Prometheus. Because if that is Prometheus, Jesus, they fucked up that character. Yeah. Yeah, my understanding is that the Archer was Prometheus, so maybe I missed something. Prometheus genuinely almost killed Superman twice. He outsmarted Batman twice. He killed the Justice League almost on multiple occasions. He's not an Archer, he's an Apocalypse. What the fuck, Arrow? Cat Huntress was in seasons 1 and 2, Wildcat was in season 2, and Kendra and Carter left LOT. Shouldn't be an issue. I imagine it's an issue because maybe the actors were busy with other projects. You know, it's not always about the story, it's about the availability of the talent, you know? But like I said, I do wish they could have at least had an explanation for why those people weren't recruited. Solomon Grundy was in season 1. Was he? I don't remember that. Of course, it has been a while since I watched season 1. Okay. Moving on to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4, Episode 3, Uprising. Daisy and Ghost Rider get to know each other while Simmons tries to save May's life from the ghost thing that infected her with something or other. It's not clear yet. And Coulson, Mack, and Fitz try to stop the Watchdogs from blacking out major cities across the world and blaming it on the Inhumans. Also, S.H.I.E.L.D. goes public. Something I really appreciate about this show, especially this week, in light of what Flash and Arrow decided to do, is its willingness to push its characters into new situations and unfamiliar territory. Yeah, in these last 3 episodes, I found it so fascinating and refreshing that May is the one that needs help for a change. May is the one who's helpless. She's the one who's fighting for her life, and she needs everyone else's help. That's what's so cool about the show delving into the supernatural this season, because this is an enemy that May can't beat with her fists, like she beats everything else. So suddenly, the biggest badass on the show is rendered kind of powerless. And now you can tell stories of how does she deal with that? How does she combat an enemy that she can't beat physically? So you're pushing May out of her comfort zone here. And that's new. Also in the case with Daisy, who's been relying on her powers so much that she overtaxed them and now her body is breaking down. So she's in a weakened state, as opposed to being glorified in every other scene like she usually is. And just when it seems like she's caught a bit of a break, Ghost Rider's brother tells her to get lost. So she's in a really bad place right now. Again, very refreshing, because normally it's Fitzsimmons who are having shit just piled on top of them, but now it's finally someone else's turn because the science babies have earned a break. But maybe I shouldn't call them science babies anymore, because they're actually pretty badass now. And well, they have been since season 3, really. You know, Simmons is being really take charge, and Fitz can handle himself in a fight now, and it's another nice change of pace, because they tend to be the ones that have every bad thing in the world happen to them, and now it's on somebody else for once. So the A-plot is the Watchdogs that we met last season, blacking out cities across the world and blaming it on the Inhumans, and Coulson, Mack, and Fitz going to one of these cities, to figure out how to stop them and expose them. Immediately, all their tech is rendered useless by the EMP, but they still find the place. They still stop the bad guys, and they still accomplish their mission not by some Deus Ex Machina that you'd see on The Flash, but just by being clever. Fitz MacGyver's a way to find the source of the EMP with basic science and math, and it makes sense because because when you've got intelligent writing, it doesn't ask you to suspend your disbelief any further than you have to. There's a fun fight scene in there with the lights constantly going on and off, on and off, on and off, and Yo-Yo is there and she gets in on the action, and she's really fun. I hope she sticks around this time. It's really charming how she gets such a kick out of messing with people. Like this guy is brandishing a weapon, like a knife or a gun or something, and then whoosh, and then suddenly she's there with the weapon like, ha ha, got it. She just has so much fun with it. I like Yo-Yo a lot. Another plus about her is that she's giving Mac more to do. It's about time Mac got a love interest, actually. Even if he's really unsure about what to do with this, since the new rules apparently forbid him from fraternizing with an asset. So we're pushing Mac out of his comfort zone now, too. Again, new situations. Something else this episode also does nicely is having the two S.H.I.E.L.D. plots kind of dovetail each other. So what the Watchdogs are doing affects Simmons' efforts to save May at the worst possible time. It's always nice when you've got that connective tissue there. I don't necessarily need every story to be interwoven, but it does help give things some extra relevance. So that's nice. And I think it's interesting also that Radcliffe used Ada's, kryptonite battery or whatever it was, to power the shock paddles that revived May. I think we're all expecting Ada to go nuts sooner or later. What if this is what does it? What if whatever ghost thing that infected May wasn't really destroyed? What if it just left her body and jumped into that battery thing? And thus that'll now somehow corrupt Ada's programming or something. That'd be a really cool idea, actually. I was hoping they'd do like a magic versus technology thing this season, but what if it's a combination of the two that become the big threat? Like technology infected by the supernatural. Not sure I've seen anything quite like that before. I probably have, but nothing's springing to mind. So that's interesting. And at the end, Shield goes public. So this is another new can of worms they're opening up here. I mean, they're used to operating in the shadows, and there's a certain amount of freedom that comes with that. But now they're going to have to navigate through red tape and public opinion and congressional oversight, which is just going to make it harder to do what they have to do. It's another new problem. It's new territory that this incarnation of S.H.I.E.L.D. has never had to deal with, spearheaded by a boss that they've never had to deal with and may not necessarily trust. They know somebody leaked the Inhuman registry to the Watchdogs, but they don't know who. I tend to think it's not Jeffrey Mace. That seems a little too obvious to me, but who knows? I don't think we can cross him off the list. So that's about it. This show displays an impressive ability to reinvent itself. It doesn't rely heavily on any given formula. It goes outside the box, and that keeps it consistently interesting for me. As opposed to The Flash or even Arrow, where it's like, how many fucking speedster characters are they going to do? Or how many archers are they going to do? It's not just the same thing in slightly different variations of the same idea. So they're doing something different here. And I appreciate that very much. I wish the other shows would do something different. So S.H.I.E.L.D's doing that. And I'm getting a kick out of it. I enjoyed this episode. It was a lot of fun. And that, as they say, is that. Okay. I'm 90% sure that Agent Blake is the guy in the Watchdog video. Well, we know Agent Blake is behind the Watchdogs, so that would make sense. Yeah. I thought May woke up too easily, but they showed us her after being rebooted, cranky and pissed off, and since she doesn't remember any of it, looks like I will it will not have a big effect on her character. Yeah, cranky and pissed off is kind of May's default mode. So it's like you can't really tell when she's like crankier and more pissed off because that's kind of the way she is all the time. So it would be nice if we saw May relaxed and carefree once in a while, just so when she has to get cranky and pissed off, we know that shit's getting real. uh, Ghost Rider versus Lola next week. Yes, that's gonna be awesome. Um, yeah, it never even occurred to me that that might happen. But as soon as I saw, as soon as the possibility occurred to me, I'm like, oh my god, they have to do that. Wouldn't it be awesome if Lola starts flying and there's like a car chase with the flaming hell charger and being chased by Lola up in the sky? Wouldn't it be fucking cool as hell? I'm excited. I'm excited to see that. I love the action scenes with Coulson and Mac in this episode. Yeah, it was really cool. It was well done. Again, a lot of tracking shots with not many cuts. Those are really impressive when they do those. Also, Fitz got a little action this time. Get to beat up some of the watchdogs. That was cool. Because Fitz has finally learned how to handle himself, which is nice. Let's see. I think Ghost Rider is not a demon. I think he's an inhuman who believes his powers come from the devil or whatever reason. Yeah, you talked about this last time. Slingshot got her powers and believed they were a gift from God. I think that in some near-death experience, Ghost Rider came to believe that his powers came from Satan instead. I'm not going to rule it out, but they would have to really change that character to do so. And they've been sticking to his backstory from the comics pretty religiously so far, so I'm not sure they would go there. And I think that's a much less interesting way to do it. I think it's far more compelling if he did actually make a deal with the devil, because it's new territory for the show to cover. It's not just doing the same thing. Great episode. I already sense she was a hater, and she's definitely an inhuman herself. I think you're referring to the woman at the end, who's some kind of political activist or lobbyist or something. And we know she at least knows somebody who is an inhuman because we saw the inhuman husk there. But I suspected that she might turn out to be an inhuman too. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I think she was the girl from Bend It Like Beckham too. Yeah, I think she is. That's a good movie. I know there were a lot of things to take from this episode, but my main takeaway was when did Fitz learn to fight like that? Well, he's been around some of the best fighters in the Marvel Universe for going on 4 years now. I think it would be unrealistic for him to not pick up a few things, even by osmosis. And so, I mean, you gotta figure, May has kind of insisted that he learn the basics, and he was, friends with Bobby and Hunter and stuff. He probably picked up some things from them. Plus, I think they kind of sort of hinted that he kind of, crossed that line and kind of became a little bit more of a fighter in the season 3 mid-season finale when he had to fight Hive, and he got into a fist fight, and he was kind of really scrappy in there, and they kind of sold that as this is Fitz kind of crossing over into becoming a little bit more physical. And then when him and Simmons went on that mission together, that guy tried to fuck with him, and he just took the guy out, no problem. So it would have been cool if they had shown Fitz like training to be a fighter, but I think the amount of time that he's spent in the field as a spy by now, he would have learned how to handle himself a little bit. We saw him in the season 3 finale. He was fighting the Inhuman Primitives. So he's been getting in on the action. So I don't think it's unrealistic that he would know how to handle himself by now. And therefore, he's in for a shock when he meets some other Inhumans. But you are really attached to this. Ghost Rider is an Inhuman theory. Okay, well, I'm not ruling it out. I just think it's... I don't think it's likely. I hope Ada doesn't go evil. I like the idea of her becoming S.H.I.E.L.D.'s version of Data. Anything's possible, but... you saw Ex Machina, right? These things tend to always go badly. It would actually be more surprising if she didn't turn evil at some point. Ada is becoming Jocasta, I'm calling it. Alright. I'm not terribly familiar with Jocasta, but who knows. I may come off as a mutant-hating bigot, but I just can't see what is so terrible about policing the Inhuman population. There's nothing wrong with policing them. Inhumans are potentially dangerous, and they should be monitored. But there's a big difference between policing them and trying to wipe them out. Inhumans are a threat to humankind. In a way, no human terror group could ever be. Imagine if someone like Blind Teleport Guy from last season, that was season 2 actually, popped into a nuclear silo and set off a warhead. I agree. That's why Inhumans should be monitored. And potentially dangerous Inhumans should be controlled. But we had a conversation about this on Twitter, and I think you were going a little overboard with it. I just agree with the Watchdogs. I wouldn't kill all the Inhumans, but they have to be contained and policed, and those above a certain power level, they need to be removed from the population. Okay. That's taking it too far. Policed, yes. Monitored, yes. Controlled, okay. You can make an argument for that. But people above a certain power level removed from the population, okay, well, if you got a really powerful Inhuman, what if they're a nice person that has no intention of using their powers abusively, no intention of doing anything bad, and they just want to be left alone? What if said Inhuman wants to be a hero and like aspires to join the Avengers and use their powers to help people? You still want that person removed from the population? Yeah, by that logic, we'd have to remove the Hulk from the population. You know? You see where I'm going with this? Just because a person is powerful, that doesn't mean that they don't have the right to exist. And you're talking about, like, violating the Constitution. You're sure the Constitution wouldn't account for Inhumans, but still, that's a slippery slope you're going down. Plus, a person, you can't really put a person down until they've committed a crime. That's how the justice system works. Just because a person has the potential or the ability to do something bad, it doesn't mean that they're going to. What the Watchdogs are doing is they basically just want to wipe out the Inhumans because they exist. Yes, some of the Inhumans are dangerous. A lot of them are not. A lot of them just want to be left alone, which this show has presented to us. Any thoughts on the Senator with the Terrigenesis brother and where that's going? Not as of yet. You're talking about that woman at the end, right? I hope so. I think so. I don't know. Well, all we know is that she exists, and she has. I think she has ties to the Watchdogs or something. I really don't know. I suspect this is going to tie into S.H.I.E.L.D. going public, and that she's going to be like a political threat that could try to shut them down. There's another threat that they can't necessarily fight by beating them up. So they're going to have to wage a war in a different arena here. Shield was awesome this week, of course. 5 out of 5. Flash was okay, but wow, was the plot crazy. 3 out of 5. Really, 3 out of 5? I think you're being pretty generous, but okay. Arrow was pretty good this week, but the plot was kind of off. 3 out of 5. I never saw all of Luke Cage. All right, sir. What did you think of the Iron Fist trailer? I liked it. Just a teaser, so we don't have a lot to go on. I like that his hands glow. I'm really glad that they put that in there, because I was afraid they were not gonna go the special effects route and just have his hands get like really hard and not do like any effects work at all. Because that seems to be like the MO with the Netflix shows that kind of downplay any any visual effects work is very subtle, and they don't go for a lot of like the CG powers and stuff like that. But they did have his hands go. I like that a lot. Action scenes we didn't really get a lot to go on. There's a lot of quick cuts in there. I assume the action is going to be really impressive because it kind of has to be on a show like that. I love the shot. I loved Madame Gao being in there. So I guess we were right that she does have some connection to Iron Fist. So I imagine she's from Kunlun. So that's cool. That's they were teasing that back in Daredevil. So that's all really cool. You can see like the connective tissue, how the Defenders are going to come together. That's awesome. I like the trailer. It doesn't give us a lot to go on yet, but I think it's good. I am disappointed that we have to wait until March to get it. That's kind of a bummer. Now, also, the Voltron Legendary Defender Season 2 doesn't drop until January. Oh, man. They said it was coming out this year. I was hoping maybe it would come out in like November or December or something. That bummed me out. But yeah, the Iron Fist trailer was good. Also, Colleen Wing looks really hot. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Claire in Iron Fist as well, because we saw at the end of Luke Cage, she notices the flyer for self-defense classes taught by Colleen Wing, so Claire is going to cross over in Iron Fist too. That's awesome. Thoughts on Sigourney Weaver and the Defenders, and the rumor that she may be Mephisto? Mephisto, really? I highly doubt that. The Defenders are like the street level heroes. Mephisto is like a Doctor Strange threat. So I highly doubt that. But who knows? Sigourney Weaver, I think that's awesome. She's a great actor, and I mean, tell me the Defenders versus Ellen frickin' Ripley doesn't sound cool as hell. That's awesome. Like, that's great news. And Mephisto, Jesus, that's a big villain. Yeah, that's why I'm guessing they won't do it. I think they're going to keep to probably have some kind of street level villain. Maybe someone from one of their rogues galleries, or maybe she'll just be head of that drug company. They were teasing that the drug company, I forget the name of it, might have ties to how they were all created. Like maybe the drug company that made the stuff that gave Daredevil his super senses may have also been the same drug company that had the stuff on the truck that Jessica Jones's family crashed into that gave her powers. Maybe they were behind. Luke Cage getting his powers too. Who knows? My guess is she'll be like the head of that company, if I had to take any guess. But yeah, I'm excited. Really excited. So I think that's about it. So yeah. So the Impact stream should be on Saturday this week. I may have to do another like rough thoughts edition, because I'm gonna be busy with stuff for a little while, I think. Just personal stuff, just real life stuff kind of punches you in the face sometimes, and it just hands you stuff that you have to deal with, and it kind of takes priority over your hobbies and stuff. But I think we will be doing it on Saturday, unless something changes. So I will see you. I'll see you on Saturday afternoon at some time. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and hopefully we can do this again on Thursday, next Thursday, unless something comes up again. I think that's it. Also, shameless self-promotion time. I'll be doing another episode of the Heelcast, I guess, in the not-too-distant future. I think those guys had the idea of me and Numero 47 doing a special where we kind of analyze and dissect the knockout division. So we're going to be doing that. I'm not sure when. We don't have a time to record it yet, but I guess that's going to happen when we can all get on the same page. So that's going to happen. So everybody tune in for that. When it happens, I'll let you know. And I will talk to you on Saturday, I think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care.